Good day, friends. Welcome to this time of gathering and thinking about what and how we serve our churches, serve the people that we work with, and allow them to learn from GRIP-Birkman while we do this remotely. So this is going to be an interesting time. Please understand that we are recording this so that if you're wanting to not show up in the recording, you might want to mute your video. And we're going to be looking today, primarily, we're going to be looking at how to do a team build remotely using primarily PDF software. So today is looking at the PDF. It takes some work ahead of time. And next week, we're going to be looking at a different software package that allows that, and it's called Miro, or Miro, M-I-R-O. And we'll look at how that works for this. And then 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking about what this looks like, how it works, and some best practices maybe from some of you. So looking forward to being able to share that whole process. I do, again, I think your mics are muted during this time, and I would ask you to keep them off so that we get to hear the presentation and not necessarily hear the background noise. Welcome again to this time. I want to introduce to you Neil. Neil's going to be leading this next section. So Neil lives in the Seattle area and has done several of these team builds remotely. And so we're trusting his expertise to help us get through this. He works primarily with church planters, and maybe he'll tell you a little bit more about that. But what we're wanting over the next 35 or 40 minutes is to listen to how he suggests we do a team build. He's got 3 people he's going to be doing a team build with. And then afterward, we're going to be open to questions. So if you have a question, I invite you to write it in the chat screen. We probably will not be opening mics afterward, but we will be looking at the chat and seeing if there's any questions that we want to address and answer, and especially get Neil or maybe the participants to respond to. So having said that, I want to introduce you to Neil, and I invite you to feel free to use the Zoom chat to ask any questions or make comments, and we'll try and address them. Neil, it's all yours.
Great. Well, good afternoon, team. And it's good to see you all here at our meeting. The last time we got together, we had the opportunity to do the leadership grip together, and I trust you've all seen your reports by now and had a chance to reorder your gifts and your styles and so on, and had a chance to review the definitions. Today, we're going to review everyone's report together. So I have 3 objectives for our meeting today. We're going to look at our each individual report. We're going to learn about other people's reports and their gifts, styles, and roles. And then finally, we're going to put it all together in a review of our how our team can function better together. So before we get started, I want to point out to you that at the bottom of your screen, there is a chat function. And I'd like everybody who's on the team here just to type in a Y or an N if you're able to hear me okay. Just give me an idea if you're able to hear our conversation, and type that in for me so I can see it. Okay. Now, I know that we have some observers for our coaching session, and I'm glad that they can hear me okay, but my comments, just for our time together here, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm addressing the team who's logged on with me. Now for the team members, if you use that same chat function and just let me know where you are right now today. What's your location? What city are you in? Let me see that. Dee Dee's in Alabama. Larry from Montgomery. How far away are you from Dee Dee? How far is that, Montgomery from Calera?
About an hour.
Uh-huh. Okay, great. And I see that we have Steve. I haven't seen where you're from. Where are you logging in from?
I'm from Calgary.
Okay, great.
That's about an hour away from us.
About an hour?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
More than an hour, yeah.
Well, that's funny. I'm in Seattle, and it took me 3 hours to fly there, so that's really something. So for the most part, I'm going to ask you to mute your mics. You'll see at the very bottom of the screen just to push that mute button. So Steve, Dee Dee, if you'd mute yourself, that way we can hold down the background noise. I also want to let you know that today we are recording this session, and we want to observe our confidentiality. But I also want you to know that this is being recorded primarily for GRIP-Birkman coaches around the world. I am operating from a closed studio. My door's closed, so what we say here is confidential. And I want to make sure that you're all right with that. So if you would just nod your head that you're all right with being recorded here. Okay, thank you so much. All right, let me just talk a little bit about what we're going to look at together. We are going to look at each person's report, and I'm going to be looking at it through using some software called FoxIt, and it's a free PDF reader. I like it because I can use it for editing, and I want you to know that sometimes it takes a little bit of time to load in comments and so on, but I want to make it interactive. So let's just jump right in. By the way, how many of you have your reports in front of you? Do you have it available? Okay, very good. So Dee Dee, we're going to start with you, and this is your report. The triangle is right there in front of us, and we're able to look at all three of the corners. Your top gift is exhortation. Would you read that definition for us? Looks like maybe Dee Dee's not quite ready to go. Larry, are you ready to go?
Yeah, Dee Dee, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I apologize. I could not find that definition. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It says the supernatural ability to encourage, rebuke, or challenge others to action in such a way that they respond.
Okay, thank you. Now, those of you who know Dee Dee, how have you seen her using that gift of exhortation?
Yeah, I definitely have seen Dee Dee using that. I've seen her interact with her pastor, giving him encouragement when he really, really needs it, and helping him to see things perhaps that he might not see in himself, or she sees them in him and pushes him on and builds him up, builds the faith up in him. I see him being an exhorter there with her pastor, who happens to also be her husband.
Okay, great. Well, I suppose that's a great gift to have in your very own household, an exhorter to keep you in line.
Yeah.
Sometimes he might not think so.
I suppose that's a possibility. All right, let's look at Steve's. Steve, your top gift is there at the top of the triangle, and I'm just going to highlight it here. Gift of administration. And well, I wasn't able to highlight that way, but we can see right there your gift of administration. Could you read that description for us?
Sure. The definition for administration is the supernatural ability to provide organization for the goals of the body of Christ by designing and carrying out an effective plan of action.
Okay. Anyone who has worked with Steve want to comment on gift of administration? I had the opportunity to work with Steve earlier this week on a presentation, and I really appreciated both his input, and so it was very concise, and we carefully worked through the details of the plan that we're putting together. So I was really appreciative of his administrative skills. So we came up with a good plan. So thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I've seen Steve as a process manager type person who puts things in order and can bring order and out of chaos many times, or can find simple solutions to complex problems. And I think that's really an administrative gift that's coming out in him as well.
Thanks.
Great. And let's look at the final triangle here. This one is you, Larry. And we've got an exhortation gift there. So actually, we've heard about exhortation. Let's go to your number 2. How would that be? Could you read the description for pastoring?
Oh, let me see if I've got pastoring up here on mine. Yeah. Where do I find that, Will?
Well, okay, I'll just scroll down here.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah, the supernatural ability to care for, feed, and protect the long-term spiritual needs of individuals or groups. Yeah, and I think that I see that really combining with my exhortation gift in terms of wanting to see people grow, and sometimes being able to see see people's needs in the flock, but more it is also an encouraging thing, but it's different, I guess, from the exhortation in that I'm wanting to see people grow, to see them being fed, to see them to see their spiritual needs being met, I guess is what I would say.
For those of you who have worked with Larry, how have you seen him using that pastoral gift?
Well, I've worked with Larry a couple of times now, and I see that he is an encourager. So on the exhortation side, he is more than happy to share his thoughts, but he cares about the inner soul of the individual and how they react to a comment or a situation. And I've seen Larry just lift people up during sessions to bring out the best in them, as well as to protect them as well.
And I too have seen that, not only as in a personal way when we're out to eat and we get into discussion, and I can see that pastoral skill coming out, sometimes writing on a little napkin that we might have at the table and giving some instructions or drawing some charts, but also on the team that we're on, and the pastoral skills come out not only for the individual but for the group.
Well, we are going to talk about gift mix in just a minute, but I think it's it's worth mentioning, and I think you've highlighted it here. He combines that exhortation gift with the pastoral side, and it comes across in a more complete package. And then with Didi, as you mentioned, he uses his leadership gift also in a very caring way. One of the things that I want to point out to you with your reports, and I am going to encourage you to, after we've had some time today looking at it, I'd like to just encourage you to go back through all of your spiritual gifts and review the definitions, as well as the additional information here. So this is I'm looking at Larry's right now. Let's look at his gift of pastoring because we were just there. We have the definitions, and then we have some characteristics. And Larry, what I'd encourage you to do is just to take a look at those 4 characteristics and highlight any of them. For example, I'm just going to highlight this one, nourishment. And you could go through here and highlight any of these that are especially meaningful to you. And when next time we're together as a team, it would be interesting for us to, again, get your review and your insights on both the characteristics and your liabilities. And then after you've had a chance to review everything, I want you to know that you can go back to the website and you can reorder these gifts. You might find that after reviewing them, for example, with Larry, a leadership gift might move to the top and the exhortation gift might move down to number 3. So it's just one of the tools that you have available for you is to review all of this the material and then to customize your report so that it works for you. I'm going to move on to a picture that I like to use to describe the gift mix that each of our team members have. And Larry, I gave you the blue color, Steve, you're the red, and Dee Dee, you're the purple down there. And I listed our gifts here on the circle. The blue gifts are what we call equipping gifts, and they're primarily verbal in function. And so you tend to be powerful in using your gifts, using words and with direct communication. The yellow gifts are what we call supporting gifts, and supporting gifts are action-oriented, and so their power is demonstrated in action that they offer in ministry. If we look at the chart together, and this is where I'm really interested in your insights. We have 2 who are strong with exhortation gifts, and we have 2 who have leadership gifts, and 2 with teaching gifts, and 2 with pastoring gifts. But we have several that are missing. Steve is the one who has most of the supporting gifts. Mm-hmm. So as we look at this together, what's it bring to mind for you with regard to the mix of gifts on our team?
Wow, Dee Dee and I really need Steve.
It would seem so, yes.
Yeah, we seem to be balanced if you look at all of the gifts in regards to filling all the gaps. But it would have been nice if another individual on the team had a supporting gift as well. So the other team members are all are more verbal rather than action. So it's great for that part of it, but it would have been nice if we had another team member that was on the supporting side.
Okay, I can see that. Mm-hmm. Any insight that you want to capture with this, Dee Dee?
Dee Dee, you're muted.
I apologize. And looking at this and thinking, I know we're just doing your leadership grip, but knowing some of my usual styles come into some of the administrative part and my spiritual gifts. So I probably have some questions about some of that as we get along a little bit further.
What's one question that comes to mind as you think about that?
Well, like in administration, I certainly am not the one who wants to take charge, but I am one who is good in support with that. And I even see that in my team styles. I know we're not ready to talk about that, but in the Let Me Help You. And also in the helps. So I can see that those would be two areas where I can function well. It might not be my primary gifts over here, but it's certainly areas that I can work in, that using my team style of Let Me Help You. Does that fit?
Sure. Yeah. So the question is, how do my primary gifts contribute to the team, but then also how do my team styles and team roles contribute to the team? Yeah, it's an important question. Larry, I'd like to go back to what you were observing in terms of gifts. We're missing someone with the gift of evangelism, someone with gift of discernment and prophetic. What might those missing gifts mean for our team?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is it's a good thing that our team is not the evangelism committee of our church. We probably might not get as much done or might not be as effective with it, but we certainly do need those people with those gifts when we are, if we're doing things that are going to be reaching out to help people know to help people know Jesus, then we're going to need somebody as a temporary team member, or we're going to need to relate to another team, or somehow we're going to have to find some of those people to help us fill those other needs to be a complete body.
Now, Steve, you have a gift of administration. How do you respond to what Larry just said?
Yeah, I totally agree with Larry. I also think that, we have to look at where our strategic plan is for our group. And if we do need an evangelist on our team, like Larry said, we'll have to probably look for someone within our congregation or within another part of the team that might have that gift to help us out in that area.
Great.
The other aspect would be if, we're looking at the top 3 or 4 here, but if we look at all of our gifts, maybe there's someone on our team that might have evangelism or wisdom as number 5 on that list, so which we might be able to rely upon in a pinch.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that reminder, and it will be something that we'll want to look at as we go forward as a team. By the way, I've captured our insights in these little Post-it notes here on the black box. So when you receive a copy of this report, you'll be able to see the insights that we've captured here. I'm going to move to another screen that illustrates all 3 points of the triangle and helps us to get an overview of how our team functions together. I call it the leadership grip mosaic. We have Larry's gifts here listed in the corner, Steve's gifts, and these are ordered, and Dee Dee's over here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to fill in the blanks or the bodybuilding roles first. So Dee Dee, if you could tell me what your bodybuilding role is, that would I'll just add that to this report.
All right, my bodybuilding number 1 is active listener.
Active listener, okay.
And then equipping releaser.
Okay.
And then team builder. Okay.
I'm just going to do 2 for now, so we don't get too cluttered.
Okay.
But what's the one that you need the most?
I need supporting releaser.
Supporting releaser. I'm just going to use a dash like that for to symbolize that. I'm going to go to. Why don't I go to Steve next? Steve, if you would tell me what your top two are, and then the one that you need.
Yeah, so my top one is Value Keeper.
Okay.
And my number 2 is Team Builder.
Team Builder, okay. And your need?
Yeah, and is a supporting releaser as well.
Okay. So,
but we'll talk about this later, probably. My number 1 and number 2 probably should be switched around, but we'll talk about that later.
okay. That would be helpful. And then, Larry, if we could go to yours, what's your top bodybuilding role?
Top is equipping releaser and vision sharer.
And vision sharer is number 2, okay. And what's your need?
Supporting releaser. Did I hear right? All three of us need supporting releaser.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Well, okay, so we're going to come back and look at how all 3 of the pieces fit together, but I do want to go to team styles. I've listed here our team styles, and we have the let me help you, let's be careful, let's go, and let's stay together. And I just have the primary one for each of you listed here. So Larry, yours is, your primary is go, and what you need the most is care. Steve, yours is let's be careful, and what you need the most is let me help you. And Dee Dee, yours is let's go, same as Larry, but your greatest need is let's stay together. And before I move on from there, let's just talk briefly. What's your backup style, Dee Dee? So,
okay, yours is different from what I have in my book.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I have let me help you as my number 1 team style, and let's go is my need.
Okay, so here's your report right here. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's your team style is let's go, and your secondary is let me help you. So what you're saying is the order is different than what's on your report.
Yeah.
Okay. We can change that.
Maybe I did. I'm looking at the one that I have printed in a book, not necessarily the one that I sent you. So maybe could I have maybe changed that?
We sure can. Yeah.
So yeah, on my team style report, I have let me help you as my number 1.
Okay, that's your number 1.
Okay. And then my need is the let's go.
Okay. Okay, that's important to that's an important change. I think that changes some of the dynamics of how the team works as well.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have just a quick observation there. We have 3 parts of the circle covered, but the let's stay together one is completely empty. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about team styles here. What's your secondary team style, Dee Dee?
That is let's stay together for secondary.
Oh, it is. Okay, so that's your secondary. Okay, good.
Mine is also.
Oh, well, okay, so we got that one covered. That's great. So Larry, you're let's stay together. And then how about you, Steve? What's your secondary?
Yeah, my secondary is let's go.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making a small circle there, or a small indicator for us, so just so that we have it. And I'm going to do another one here for Dee Dee. We could, by the way, one of the things that we can do here is we can use the annotation tool. Do you see that if you touch the green bar at the top, this annotation bar comes down, and it gives us a chance to contribute to the discussion. And I'm just going to put on the spotlight here and use this. You can see me moving that red circle around. And I'd invite each of you to do the same thing. Go up there and grab the spotlight, and let's do just a little collaboration here and talk about what we see with regard to the circle.
So
Well,
on view options with the zoom, is that it?
yes,
And
yeah,
then
view options. I think you push on the green, and a drop-down menu should occur across the top.
Annotate.
And go to annotation.
Okay.
Are you able to see that?
Yeah. Which symbol do you want us to use?
Go to spotlight, and you can either use the arrow or the, it's kind of like a little spotlight. And that's the one that I
don't
picked.
see that. When I pull down view options in zoom, I see mouse, text, draw, stamp, arrow, eraser.
I think I need to share that with you. Yeah. Let's see. Show. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to do that right now, so we'll just have to talk through it. But there is a way for me to invite all of you to collaborate with me on the annotation. So for right now, just follow the red dot, and let's take a look at the mosaic together. What do you see? Let's start with team styles. What do you see here with team styles that would be important for our team to understand about the way we work together?
Yeah, if I look at our number one and then what we need, we seem to be able to help each other. You know, my primary is let's be careful, but my need is let me help you, which Dee Dee has. And then Dee Dee also has, you know, her number one is let me help you, but hers need is let's go. So, and then Larry, again, is number one, is go, and he needs, let's be careful. So the three of us seem to balance each other out. But then if we look at let's stay together, that seems to be missing as a primary anyways.
We'll talk about the secondary in just a moment, but how does that balance, what does that say about our team to you, Steve? What's that suggest?
That we rely on each other
Okay.
for what we need.
Okay. Larry or Dee Dee, what do you think about that level of balance that we see on our team styles?
I think what Steve said is right. As I'm looking at my let's go and my need for a let's be careful. But my let's go, I got a lot of the let's stay together in there too. I even wonder if I'm not really a let's go together.
Okay. Okay.
I do want the team to be together in what we're doing. I realize that sometimes I run ahead of the team, but when I realize that, I want to run back to the team and say, wait a minute, I didn't ahead of the team, you know, because I really want the team to stay together. I want the team to run as fast as I run. But
you know, so that's an interesting comment, Larry, because I'm wondering how helpful is it for you to have someone who's a process person like Steve to say, you know, let's build a process here so everyone can go together.
Yeah, right. And also, you know, to be careful that, hey, you know, we didn't forget, you know, we're rushing to go help these folks, but we didn't forget to go to the bank and get some money so we could actually buy the stuff that we needed to buy to help them, you know?
Okay.
And if you look at Larry's secondary gift is pastoring. So he is concerned, and he shows it, that that he cares about people
Yeah,
themselves. So, staying together. I can see Larry's comment of, let's go together. So,
Uh-huh.
Well, and when I look at mine, my number one is let me help you, but then my second is let's stay together. So I want to help you as we stay together.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to me. You're all kind of observing the same thing, and that it speaks well to the idea of team synergy. And could you tell me how your team has worked in the past to stay together and accomplish things as a team that you accomplish better being together than you would be being separate? How's that worked out for you in the past?
No, I'm looking back to that event that we had at the camp last summer.
Oh, yeah.
And, I could see Dee Dee during that session saying, she wants to be very helpful, but she also wanted the group itself to stay together. And I know, Larry, you wanted to just move ahead and get all of those points done on the agenda, but you also wanted to make sure that everyone moved along at the same time. So I thought that was quite good. And for me, my point was during that session was, are there other things that we need to think of?
Yeah, and we saw that come out, Steve. Sometimes it was Steve that said, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. But are there other options? Yeah, exactly. Just to make sure that everyone has their point of view spoken, as well as make sure everybody has their ideas put on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Dee Dee?
No, I just agree. It was really interesting to watch us all work together at the event. And to see that, the unity that came because of that, and to see the team styles working together, that's a really good example.
So that's a unique strength of your team, and something that you can depend on, especially when you have challenges come your way or you're working on a really big project. You can recall this session and think of ways that you can lean on each other, not only to stay together, but to keep the ball moving forward. Let's talk briefly about our body life roles. What do you see there? It's pretty obvious. We've covered all of the body life roles except for supporting releaser. What might that mean for our team?
Give me that definition of supporting releaser again.
Well, let's just look at, Larry, let's look at your report here. We're going to scroll down to supporting releaser. Let's see.
I've got the definition here.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Provides the supporting functions, releasing others to ministry. Enables most powerful from alongside.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the person then that's maybe more in the behind the scenes and making sure we've got all the.
Yeah, exactly.
And I sometimes wonder if that isn't the role, Steve, that you end up playing, being in the background sometimes, but getting tools together for us, and some of those other kinds of things. Maybe that's not coming out of your giftedness. Maybe it's coming out of your personality. But it seems like it's being covered.
Yeah. Either that, or that part of it may come out in the team building role. So I guess I do tend to look at what the needs are for people, and then say, hey, let me help you here, and let's find a tool for you, or an activity.
Yeah.
Well, and it does say that the gifts for supporting releaser, the first one is administration, which you do have, Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's also take a moment and reflect on our strengths. So the number one, we have active listener, values keeper, and equipping releaser. So these are very significant strengths of your bodybuilding roles. What might that mean for our team, having those strengths?
Ask me the question again, please.
Okay, so with our bodybuilding roles, we look at all 6 of the bodybuilding roles, but our primary bodybuilding roles on our team, we have active listener, equipping releaser, and values keeper.
Okay.
How do the strength of those bodybuilding roles both help us as a team and also help us to accomplish our mission?
Yeah. Well, I think just thinking about the fact that we are working together as part of an equipping team. And that is our assignment. So it seems like we have good strengths to bring to that for the purpose of building up people and then trying to launch them out and release them. I'm looking at this, not just the strengths, but I'm looking also at the liabilities that are there. Problems I think sometimes might be, wanting to release but not doing enough equipping. We might be pushing people out a little bit too soon. I know I'm guilty of that many times, saying, hey, yeah, let's run with that, and maybe it hasn't been totally completely thought through, or the other person may not feel quite as comfortable with it as I thought they ought to be, or we might sometimes take the opposite side and want to do so much equipping that they're never going to be ready to launch because it's never going to be perfect or whatever. So I can see both of those at work sometimes, that when is it good enough, or when does it really when do we need to be mentoring the person a little bit more? When do we need to be shepherding them more and not just assuming that they got it the first time? I don't know if that makes sense, but I can see how that might be something that we need to look at with those liabilities.
Well, especially when you think of your function as an equipping team, you'd certainly want to be equipping releasers. It seems that you have with both active listening, you're going to get to know the people who are being trained with the equipping, and you're going to make sure that the values of what you're trying to communicate are there. But I see what you're saying. You might potentially release them too quickly. So let's pause there. We'll get together next week and discuss some additional insights that you have after you've had a chance to review your reports. I am going to send you a copy of this document, and when we get back together next week, if you have any changes in the order of your spiritual gifts or any of the other items that we put on the chart, we can talk about that. But I want to move from the data that we've collected about our team to how we can really accomplish our mission together. And so we'll talk much more about our purpose and where we're going together. And this discussion about our gifts, team styles, and body roles will be a backdrop for us working together as a team. So with that, I will close in prayer and hand this meeting back over to our moderator. Let's pray. Lord, I thank you for our team members here. I thank you for the fact that you have given us gifts, and I'm very impressed with the balance that we've brought together, and even the willingness to sacrifice our own needs, wants, and desires so that we can serve the team. So I thank you for everyone who's on the call today, and ask you to bless their preparation in for our meeting next week. Amen.
Amen.
I hand it now over to you, Ken.
Sorry, why don't you unshare your screen, if you will, Neil, and then we'll open it up for questions there. Okay, so talk to us a little bit, Neil, about the software you're using. So you're using the PDF software.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Fox. What is it called?
FoxIt, yeah, it's
FoxIt.
just like it sounds, FoxIT.
Okay.
And it is a free PDF reader. One of the things that I like about it is it has a very robust editing function. And there are a lot of ways that you can annotate. And that's what I was trying to illustrate today.
Okay. Sorry, my mic was really low. I moved it up out of my head. Neil, the question is, are you open to sharing those charts? You have those PDF charts. Would you be open to sharing them?
Okay. Absolutely. What would be the best way for us to get that out, Ken?
If you have them, you could give us a link. Like if you can share them at some point, you can put a link right in the chat here. Or
would you want to make them available on the coaching page on GRIP-Birkman?
Yeah. So the Facebook coaching page on the GRIP-Birkman Facebook page. Let's put them there for everybody.
Okay.
That might be helpful.
Okay. The only thing that I would ask is just to leave the reference information at the bottom so that people know how to contact me if they'd like to know more about either what I'm doing or how they would like to modify it. This is a beta version, and so it's in testing, and I can already see a couple of things I'd like to change on it. So just keep that in mind also.
Good. Okay. Any other questions? I haven't seen any other questions. Neil, this is very, I think, very helpful. I think I'd be interested in asking the panel, how did this feel to you? Did it feel awkward? Did it feel natural? Do you feel like that you actually could walk away from this kind of event feeling like that you as a team understood each other better? Larry, what's your first thought there?
Oh yeah, I actually started feeling really good about our meeting and want to have another meeting with Dee Dee and Steve after this to talk about more assignments and where we're going here. Getting used to what the symbols meant and how the symbols were working. I was trying to follow that. And once I got the hang of it, like with the long arrow going from my strength to my mead, I think that graphic was very helpful. And I loved looking at the circle of the gifts like we usually do with a floor exercise when we have people on the floor and we can stand them there. Somehow, Neil using the numbers, if we could use initials or anything to identify ourselves. What I'd love to do would be to have a little photo of our faces that we could put in those places. If we could paste our faces actually on that graphic to see us on the floor exercise, that would be really neat. But it was very, very helpful, and it pointed out really quickly to us with a group chart that we're talking about where were our strengths and where might be our areas of need. Love that.
Steve or Dee Dee, anything to add there?
One thing that I wanted to add is I am somewhat skeptical about how gifts would be empowered in this medium of online learning. And yet, as we were talking, there was kind of this sense of fellowship that we were having, and over the insights that came together as our team could see the relationships that we have, both with our team styles and our and our spiritual gifts. And I think this is one of the potentials that we have, is that we really can experience not only God's presence and fellowship as we interact together, but we can really glean some insights that make us stronger as a team. And I think that's body life at work.
Good. One of the questions that's come from Leslie Cool actually asked, how many sessions do you think a team build should last? I mean, so this was 45 minutes. What would you think? Like several sessions, 2, 3? What's your experience, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah. So basically, what I've done here is I've outlined what I would call my big picture workshop, and I'll do a big picture workshop in about 2.5 hours. So we're well below that time frame. I think it's difficult to go 2.5 hours on an online meeting without taking breaks. But so to answer your Leslie's question, I think really to do a good job with it, you probably need 2 or 3 sessions. And I'm intending to do a class with my church, and we'll probably go somewhere between 4 to 6 sessions to go over the same material.
Okay. Several people are not part of the Facebook group, and we're wondering if they could email you to have you send those files to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just put my email address in here.
Ken, I think we can make those available on the resources page of the GRIP-Birkman.com also, can't we?
We can. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
let's do that. I'll try to take responsibility for that.
And by the way, I punched in my email address there. I would be also open to any suggestions you have for either graphic representations or modifications that you think would be beneficial. I like Larry's idea of being able to, especially with the gifts circle, to be able to add icons. And I'm going to play with that, see if I can put that together, Larry.
I'll send you my snapshot, Neil.
Perfect. Yeah, I guess that's what I would need, right? I'll just do a stick figure of you.
That's right. Just grab it off my Facebook or LinkedIn. They're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the realities that we're just having to face here is that no virtual team build is going to equal the impact of a physical team build. But the reality is that we live in a time when we have to be able to move to this new medium. And so we need to figure out how to do this well. Mm-hmm. It may not look as good or feel as good, or our comfort level may not be as high as when we could get people in a group and have them facing one another and moving physically people around. But at least for the moment, that's not an option. Mm-hmm. And yet the need to help us as the body of Christ understand how we function together and how we can work together, even in this context, is more important than ever. Mm-hmm. So for us to find a way to make this happen seems important. And that's one of the reasons why we are putting on this demo today, and why next Thursday we're doing this again with a little different software, and we're going to do this again over again to help you with this process, so that you have some tools to be relevant in this context.
I think that's a really important point, Ken, that helping people to discover how to employ their gifts, how to engage their gifts, and get the church mobilized right now in this current reality that we are living in the current world. Mm-hmm. We could sit on our hands and we could complain about not being able to have physical presence with each other, and it wouldn't accomplish anything. So the fact that we are given this reality, how can we help people to maximize their gifts? In the case of this team, saying we're continuing to work together, we're continuing to try and launch new things, and how do we do that out of our giftedness and not allow the circumstances to keep us from being the church mobilized. I think that's an extremely important thing for us to be communicating. And so as we have these teams getting together, the only other thing I would add is what's the conversation going to be like with this team after this team build? Can we get them started in this dialogue with each other so that we are continuing to talk about building one another up, keep maximizing each other's strengths and recognizing when we have needs, who do we go to that helps to meet those needs as we're building up the body?
Well, along those lines, Larry, after creating the mosaic here that we've done here today, this is something that we can both save and share digitally, but it's something we could print out and turn into a poster that we keep at our office or what have you, or something that we bring out at our team meetings, just to review the information that's presented through the leadership grip.
Yeah.
So it takes a little extra work to do online, but it does provide us with a visual representation that we can use over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Larry and Steve and Dee Dee, for being willing to share your leadership grip information to the whole group. I appreciate that very much. I want to remind all of you that, Stephen, did you have a comment before?
I have a question. I need 3 volunteers for next week.
Okay. So, Steve, why don't you put your email in the chat message there, and if anybody can is available, would be willing to do that.
Hey, if anybody has an actual team that you'd like to go through a live team build with your own existing team and you'd like to volunteer them, here's a great opportunity.
It is. Good. Having said that, our hour is nearly up. We want to be sensitive to that. Neil, thank you so much for being willing to do this. Larry, Dee Dee, and Steve, thank you so much for your vulnerability and your openness. And all of you, thank you for coming today.
I do have one more question, Ken.
Yep.
Yeah. Is this recording going to be on YouTube as well?
Yes. So we are recording this, and we'll have it on YouTube in the next, probably in the next, within the day.
Yeah.
Within the day? Okay, thanks. Because some people did want to connect, but they were in the waiting room.
Yeah. So.
Or they were locked out. Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah.
Great.
So it is available.
Okay. Fantastic.
Having said that, God's blessing upon you all. Thank you for joining us here today. Hopefully we'll see all of you next Thursday. And God's blessing on you as you seek to do team builds for the sake and glory of the kingdom. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.